Vanuatu maintains diplomatic relations with many countries and has a small network of diplomatic missions. Australia, France, Republic of Korea, New Zealand, the People's Republic of China and the United Kingdom maintain embassies, high commissions, or missions in Port Vila. The British High Commission maintained a continued presence for almost a century, though closed from 2005 until reopening in 2019. The government's main concern has been to bolster the economy. In keeping with its need for financial assistance, Vanuatu has joined the Asian Development Bank, the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund. According to ABC Radio Australia, foreign policy issues that feature in Vanuatu include wide support for the Free West Papua movement and broadly for independence throughout Melanesia, the One China policy and relations with Australia and New Zealand. On the latter topic, guest worker programs feature prominently. Vanuatu obtained independence from France and the United Kingdom in 1980. The country's first elected leader, Prime Minister Father Walter Leaney, governed Vanuatu from 1980 to 1991, and shaped its initial foreign policy in distinct ways. The key bases of Leaney's foreign policy were non-alignment and anti-colonialism. Support for independence movements around the world, from faraway Western Sahara to neighboring New Caledonia, as well as East Timor and West Papua, who all received Vanuatu's support at the United Nations. Vanuatu notably angered Indonesia by allowing the Free Papua movement to open an office in Port Vila. Vanuatu in the 1980s was the only country in Oceania not to align with the Western Bloc in the dying stages of the Cold War, rejecting support either for the West or for the East. Vanuatu joined the non-aligned movement in 1983, and only established diplomatic relations with the Soviet Union and the United States in June and September 1986, respectively. In keeping with this policy, Vanuatu established diplomatic relations with Cuba in 1983, and with Libya in 1986. Leaney openly condemned the 1986 bombing of Libya by the United States, sending a message of condolences to Colonel Muammar Gaddafi, while Barack Soap accused the United States of being a state sponsor of terrorism. The same accusation was leveled by Vanuatu against France after the sinking of the Rainbow Warrior. Relations with the United States were tense until the late 1980s, when a state visit to Washington by Leaney and Foreign Affairs Minister Sela Molisa contributed to a lessening of tensions. Relations with France remained strained throughout the 1980s for a variety of reasons. Leaney's government opposed French nuclear tests at Mururoa, and spoke out repeatedly against apartheid in South Africa. Vanuatu was a member of the United Nations Special Committee Against Apartheid. In 1990, Vanuatu's ambassador to the United Nations Robert Van Lyop remarked proudly, "I think that Vanuatu's contribution to the United Nations is somewhat disproportionate in relation to its size." When the Prime Minister met Nelson Mandela in Namibia, Mandela knew about Vanuatu because it has always been among the countries in the region that have most clearly spoken out on the problem of apartheid. Vanuatu under Walter Leaney also sought to create solid relations with Asia, and, by the end of the decade, had established official diplomatic relations with the People's Republic of China, Japan, South Korea, North Korea, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam and the Philippines. Following the 1991 general election, the Francophone Union of Moderate Parties became the dominant party in parliament, and Maxime Carlot-Corman became the country's first Francophone prime minister. He reversed unequivocal support for the Kanak National Liberation Front in New Caledonia, its systematic enmity towards France, its flirting with radical regimes, and its openly anti-American nuclear-free Pacific stance. Francophones held power, under Carlot-Corman as Serge-Verheur, until 1998. Since 1980, Australia, the United Kingdom, France, and New Zealand have provided the bulk of Vanuatu's development aid. As of March 2008, Australia was Vanuatu's biggest aid provider, followed by France. A number of other countries, including Japan, Canada, Germany, and various multilateral organizations, such as the Economic and Social Council for Asia and the Pacific, the UN Development Programme, the Asian Development Bank, the European Economic Community, and the Commonwealth Development Corporation also provide developmental aid. The United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, the United Kingdom, South Korea and Japan also send volunteers. Since the mid-2000s, Cuba has been a noted provider of medical aid. Vanuatu continues to promote the right to self-determination. In 1980s, Southern and Palestine was recognized. Later, Vanuatu recognized Kosovo in 2010 and Abkhazia in 2011. Vanuatu is the only country in the world that recognizes all of these 4 states. In addition,